So we kind of, with this episode, it's very rare that we talk about technology here at Original Magazine. You know, even though we're photographers and editors, we are the least technical people.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
Absolutely. And I think just our journey here, we've just kind of been researching and learning on the go, really. You know,
which is what I think you have to do.
Yeah, totally.
Obviously, with TikTok and the emergence of TikTok when we first started,
do you remember? That was so. We were dinosaurs. Well, we felt like dinosaurs. You know,
it's the first time where I felt like slightly behind the times or old.
Yeah.
When TikTok came out, and TikTok's been around for a little longer than obviously when COVID, but that's where it like really took off, and that's when we started to use it a little bit more.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
it's just one of those things, isn't it? Technology is just ever evolving, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about that dreaded AI technology.
Which is another next step, next level up. Really.
Absolutely. It's just something that's completely exploded and almost taken over the industry, especially within the talks of the industry as well. Yeah. And one of the reasons why what inspired this was because of an art gallery that we both love, and they obviously post about different artists, different mediums, but one of the ones that really sparked a debate, and I would fair to say a bit of an outrage, actually.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, I would say.
I think that was a very fair
Going
assessment.
off of the comments that were left.
God, people came to fight.
Yeah.
That section, there was no holding back, and rightly so, because this particular gallery started to promote this AI technology and this artwork, and it really upset a lot of people.
But for some context though as well, obviously this was when AI was starting to slowly make an impact in the creative industry, so it was like still very raw, very scary for a lot of people.
Yeah,
people were unsure about it, so it was at a time where people were still trying to understand it, still know like what it was the impact it was going to have on the industry. So I think for context, I think it's really important to like obviously mention that it was right at the beginning of when like galleries, artists were still sort of experimenting with
totally, and I think
the technology.
And I think it kind of came after the whole like when people on like Instagram, Facebook were changing their profile pictures to like an AI version
Avatar.
of us. Like that's it, absolutely. And TikTok and Reels were doing the same. So I think it kind of I think it kind of was just, I think we were all very scared, and I think that's where all these comments were coming from, because let's be honest, AI technology has been around for years. You know, having conversations about my dad who has been in technology and you know, even had like one of the very first Macintoshes in the 80s where he was working. Yeah, so he's seen the evolution of technology, but my dad was saying how it's always been there. It's just now people are so aware of it, and it's actually surface. Like it's not underground anymore. Like we know it's happening.
Yeah, and it's making more and more of an impact, isn't it?
Yeah,
and companies, it's evolving, which and I think it's the pace that it is evolving at, which is I think the biggest worry for a lot of people within the industry, and not just within the industry, just in general as well. So
absolutely. I mean, you look at again, kind of going off of more backlash, like Levi's created a campaign with AI generated people, and that really kind of, you know, models and creatives are exploited enough in the industry as it is, without companies then producing models for their campaign. And you can tell with AI that it's being used because they can't get the feet right, they can't get the hands right, and it's quite alien-like still. You can still tell. But I think what, again, people were more scared about is the fact that it was just an entire campaign of a fashion brand.
Taking jobs from models, taking jobs from
absolutely,
you know, potential scouts and bookers and stuff like this. So, and I think that's where it was, and I think it's fair to say that we were both probably on the side of backlash. We were very much against it when it first came about.
100%, absolutely, because that's exactly it. You know, it in that moment, it felt like the creative industry was completely obsolete, and that's a really, really scary thought. But kind of coming back to why we did this podcast and why it's taken a while is that because we wanted to kind of get more of a well-rounded viewpoint of AI, rather than coming on here saying that it's shit, it's all of this, because then by doing that, I think, again, it's fair to say that if we start saying things like that about new technology, then we will all start being left behind. Because don't forget, especially within photography, black and white photography was the medium that people used before colour. I think it was it William Eggleston and Stephen Shaw? That was one of the very first
few people
that used colour. And that was seen as like a really scary thing, wasn't it? And that was just film.
Well, look at Ansel Adams, obviously of the time as well, but that's like, black and white photography. Like he's like it's the cliche, you go to college and it's the first artist that you research, or your tutors or lecturers go, look at Ansel Adams, and it's all black and white, but of course of the time as well, the resources and what have you. But like you say, everything evolves, and I think it's important for us as creatives to take the time to understand that. And that's what we've done, really, from seeing the gallery and seeing what they've promoted. It's taken us a long time, because we've thought, well, hang about, let's not be reactive to something. Let's actually take some time and sort of be proactive, have a bit of an experiment ourselves using some of the technology like the Photoshop beta and stuff like that, and then just general research. I think is just fair to say. Like, obviously I'm not now like a pro in AI technology and all of its pros and cons, but we've taken some time just to sort of even implement it into our own photography work as well.
Totally, absolutely. And I say implement at the very loose.
It's like
loose.
It's like, I think the first session I spent on using it was maybe like in bed for like an hour or two before I fell asleep, just to sort of mess around and see. And like you say, I got the weird figures and the hands and the feet, and they're generating these random people. And I'm like, I typed in maybe, I don't know, yacht at sea, and then all of a sudden, like, you get this like random face that's really blurry. It's like something from like a horror film.
Yeah, we're still scared now that something will kind of pop up, a bit like, what's that film? Is it Slender Man?
Or
something like that, where you say a word and it like creeps out of the that's a fear at night time now with it. So I think obviously we'll do more of like an advice towards the end, but like, I guess kind of going off of the bat of that, I think that's one of the very first advice I would give to artists, is to not be scared of it, and to actually use it to help your artwork, because we get very wrapped up in something. If we don't understand something, we get very wrapped up in being scared of it, and I don't think we should be scared of it at this point in time as such, because at the moment it's in the beta stages, isn't it?
Well, yes, but like, I think it's fair for people to feel a little bit uneasy about it still, and what have you. But I guess at this point in time now, and the way it's evolved, it's not going anywhere. It's only ever going to get better, more efficient. So I think you do have to be conscious and aware that like, this isn't something that's just a fad and it's going to come and go. But it's understanding how you can use it in your own practice. Or if you don't want to use it, just accept that, but accept that it might potentially in the future hinder you when it comes to like maybe getting jobs or stuff like this, because it will implement itself into so many different sectors.
Totally. I think we would be very naive to think that maybe certain jobs in the industry will disappear.
Well, like retouchers.
Yeah, that's
probably the biggest
one
of the biggest scariest. Like, obviously your friends who's a retoucher.
Yeah, absolutely. But then they have already started using it within their own practice to help them, because this is it. That's how we should treat, I think, this technology, especially within Photoshop beta. I believe the one for photo, film editing is called Firefly. So I don't think we should be, it should be there to help us and enable us.
It's got to aid you. You don't then have to like change your whole aesthetic as a photographer or an artist or a painter or an illustrator. Definitely have. I mean, it is like we've had some fun using it as well, like in creating completely images from complete scratch. And it has been, and the more you use it, the more you get to understand like the prompts and the way it's, the way you've got to be quite, detailed about what you want in there. It can be really useful. And especially if you don't like editing as well, which is, I think, something that I would be surprised if not a lot of people dislike editing. I know it's, probably 50-50, but I don't like editing it as much anymore. So actually, in some respect, it could, especially as it develops, be really useful for me.
Yeah.
And for some people who maybe don't have the money to outsource editing and stuff like this.
Absolutely. I think that's a really positive a pro to it, totally, because retouchers, rightly so, they're expensive, it's time consuming, there's a lot of talent that goes into it, and unfortunately how we are in the industry at the moment, especially the repercussions of the pandemic, money is it's tight for everybody. Absolutely. So the outsourcing for other people and other creators is extremely tight. So if you can use something like Beta to help yourself, then why not?
Yeah, especially as a graduate. Like you're a graduate photographer, but you then have to be like your own editor. And especially with now, AI technology and stuff like this, promoting yourself, it's just another thing to be thinking about, isn't it? Which is probably scary in itself. Like, it's enough as it is being a freelancer and graduating and going, okay, like, holy shit, where do I go now? What do I do? Now I've got this to contend with. Do I need to know everything about it? Do I need to be able to like promote on my CV that like I can use it? It's just one of these
ever changing, growing things. Suddenly we've got like a list of things that we have to include on our CV, and Photoshop Beta is going to be one of them. Or if in a couple of years it's called Beta, because Beta is a developing tool term, isn't it? Something like that, because then you've got the alpha, you've got the beta. So
well, we'll see how it changes, and obviously Adobe will will be constantly working on it all the time, I'm sure, and they probably are as we speak. They've probably got their team of experts working away on it and programming it
and this is I was thinking about this again, talking with my dad about technology. The thing that really pisses me off in the industry is that it will not only exploit the technology side of things, but it also financially exploit it as well. So that's another advice I would say to people: use it now, because Photoshop is free.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Well, look at Capture One, for example. Look at the licensing fees that you have to go. It's
Final Cut Pro, things like this.
Oh my god! I get so passionate about how much these things cost.
But that could be a whole.
That could be another podcast.
Yeah, maybe at some point.
Because it's hard enough being a creative without the expenses of technology, equipment on top of that. And if it's a requirement for you to use AI, and then they add in more pricing, more subscriptions to it, how else are people going to create? So get on top of it now.
Whilst you
can. Have fun with it.
Yeah. I think that's the most important thing. Is just to have fun with it, because from our experience, people aren't asking for it at this moment in time, which I know is what we've touched upon. But I guess we've spoken quite openly about it, and it seems quite positive, but there's obviously quite a few cons to sort of AI technology, and again, this is something that a lot of people with recent events and people striking about it, people not or being potentially striking about it and talking about maybe the image rights, protecting yourself and stuff like this. So I wouldn't be surprised if that then comes to fruition. If people actually decide to.
Yeah, that's one of the definitely one of the cons to it, because as of this moment in time, there's no intellectual law surrounding AI at the moment, which is why a lot of people's artwork is being stolen. And I think, now don't quote me, I did see this on Reels, and, things can, we know that not every Reel is like,
see on social media
is correct, but there was somebody to say that in the terms and conditions of one of the AI technologies, it said that actually if you use it, then your work is no longer owned by you. It's a technology.
That's almost like being at uni. Like if you I was unaware of this until we did some work. We spoke to the lecturer, but if you actually use the studios, the uni equipment and everything for your shoot, and then it becomes this, you could create a campaign. The uni has the rights to be like, well, you created that on campus. So I think it's not like that's not new really. Like people are doing that all the time. People just don't know. And students, I think if you asked 100 students, were you aware of this? I bet you only a very small percentage were. But that's another thing about the AI technology, I think you are right. I think I did read somewhere else where like once you start to create something, that's theirs. But then again, Instagram.
Well, this is
if you post anything on Instagram, they have their right to take that then.
Unfortunately, because
it has been happening with other platforms and social platforms, universities and stuff like that.
So. Totally. I think we've obviously touched upon like the fact that AI still can't get, you know, the feet, the hands right, that kind of thing. So there's still such a long way to go for it to then kind of not take over the world, but, you know, it will. I think we've got a long time.
You speak to anyone, like obviously we're of a certain age, but if you speak to people who are older than us, like they've gone through life where like there's lots of things have come into place and they've been like, oh, you know, we thought this was going to happen, and you know, like this is just another thing that has come around. Everyone is a bit wary of it, a bit concerned, and it's rightly so. And we should all be. You shouldn't be naive to the fact that you've said like that this could be much bigger than anything else, but I don't think it's going to happen overnight. Right now, I think it's just fair to say, enjoy it whilst it's free. Have an experiment with it, whether you're a retoucher, whether you're a photographer, an editor, an illustrator, graphic designer. You know, have fun with it and see what you can create, and you might be surprised. You might actually become a fan of it.
Yeah, totally.
Because loads of people have.
Oh, absolutely. Like one of the things I loved about it, again, looking at Reels, I feel like I live my whole life on Reels. I don't, but like
a little bit.
But there's so much to see. There's so much to learn.
I'd like to see your screen time.
Yeah, but my algorithm is all about learning how to use like Photoshop and things like this, because like we said, I'm not the most technical person. I'm very visual. So if I can have something that's like 15 seconds where it's telling me how to do something, I'm like, oh, that's so much fun. And I'll go and apply it. And it's the same with this. So I think if I'm correct, there's a thing on beta where it actually can help you spot clean the floor of a studio.
Can it really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, no, neither did I, but I don't know if it's either on the actual Photoshop or beta. I feel like it's on beta.
So has Photoshop changed as well since Photoshop beta?
I feel like my Photoshop's a lot slower now that I've been.
Well, not slower, but like the functions are all still the same, aren't they?
A little bit. There is a toolbar on Photoshop now where it can actually remove the background for you, rather than which is so great.
Yeah, and even then, it's not like that refined.
No, you still have to like get the lasso tool and add it to like the whole. Yeah. You still have to add the selection to it.
A little bit.
But that takes far less time doing that than trying to do everything else, like what you had to previously. So I'm so thankful.
Yeah, again,
that thing has now entered into actual Photoshop.
I guess to a certain degree, maybe people are worried because of the control level as well. Like if you are using it, you don't have as much control as an editor.
Yeah.
I mean, you sort of do because you're the one using it and putting the prompts in, but you're not the one physically doing it. So I wonder if that's why. I mean, I'm just making up sort of scenarios here now. So it could be that could be a factor. Like I don't have a problem with that because now I used to quite like editing, but now I'm like, I'll just let someone else do it.
Yeah.
Let someone else. I'll be like, you do this for me, please. I mean.
You see, I'm a little bit more. I still have to have the control.
Yeah, so
I still have to like know that it's me removing the background and putting the prompts in, that kind of thing. You know, outsourcing it kind of scares me still.
I mean, I don't have the resources to outsource it.
No,
but if I did,
I.
So I still have to do it at this point in time. But if I did, I mean, if I ever do, then I probably will. If I found someone who I could, I guess you still need to be able to trust someone in terms of their ability.
This is it, absolutely. That comes with like the researching and seeing, you know, not sending it off to somebody who retouches like landscapes. You need to find somebody who has like the same style as you, who's the same interest as you, so that they can get like a idea.
I guess the big question is as well is what I see a lot of people asking is will what AI technology replace creative jobs? And I know we've like touched upon that, but I guess that's something that we could probably look into, because
it's difficult. Like we keep saying, like we can't go into this type of technology without understanding and knowing that it could happen, because it could. You know, we've already touched upon retouchers and you know, editors. They're the ones that will take the hit more than anybody else, I think. But also, I think the reason why it won't take over the world and what we all thought, a bit like, you know, iRobot kind of thing, is because throughout time, history, space, the reason why we as artists love art, even if you're not in the creative industry or a creative yourself, we love art because it's been made by humans. We love that human element. You can see it even when you see the AI technology in like the fashion works. There was once, I think it was last year, where there was like the first AI fashion week, which was pretty incredible. They did it in a really good way, like talking about like enabling and using it as an enabler rather than something to take away. So they hired out this incredible studio. It was a big studio, and like well-known studio, I should say, not just a big one. Well-known studio.
I think I got what you meant.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear for everyone else. And so they had the designers create, obviously, their garments with AI technology, but they put them in frames, like moving frames, and they displayed it like it was a gallery, and that was the AI. How clever is that? Like, clever. It's very simple, but there's still that element of humanity with it.
But it still
like
takes it away,
touch.
though, doesn't it? To a certain degree. Like, so whilst it's still really clever, it's still taking that element of performance away from other people.
Of course. So there's pros and cons to
So like imagine let's go to, I don't know, Paris Fashion Week, but you get there and it's just a screen and it's just...
No, of course, I get that. But this is it, like, but people will prefer to go and see people. I think. I don't think...
Or like going back to your iRobot analogy, I think I could probably use them as an outsource all my editing to them. So I wouldn't mind.
But like, have you seen it where like Sonny is like drawing his dream on the paper and he does it in like 2 seconds time?
Imagine.
Only if it's Sonny though, because he's adorable. So I wouldn't mind a robot like him. All the others are scary.
But he was a bit odd all at the same time.
Yeah, eccentric.
But yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. And I understand why people may question and bring up that question about the replacement of jobs. But again, I think it's just one of these things where it's going to be potentially implemented within roles, within companies and businesses. I don't think it's going to... And I'm not a psychic, I can't read minds, can't predict the future, but I can't imagine, whilst it will develop and advance at a really quick rate, and it already has, I don't think it will really replace...
No.
And not for the foreseeable future, at least, anyway. Who knows, in 10, 20 years' time, we could all be sat here, like on a ship, like on WALL-E. And whilst, we've got loads of WALL-Es running around.
Oh. Again, I wouldn't mind a WALL-E.
But, I think it is what it is. I think we got to... I know it's a bit of a hippie sort of approach to it, but we have to just accept that it's here, accept that the technology is here, and and just have fun with it, see where it takes you, see where it takes your own practice, because it almost could, and I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit, but you could develop your artwork in a really positive way.
This is it. Like it's all the imagination as well that can come from it, and that's really, really great. And I think one of the reasons why people, again, liked going back to like the AI Fashion Week, if you don't have the financial aspect of your career where you can put all these luxurious fabrics with it, this is again something that AI can help with. It's taking your designs to that next
But I do have a
level.
question. If you're a user, so like obviously we talk about image rights and all that, and how unlawful it is. If you're using AI and effectively taking someone else's work from somewhere and implementing it to your own, are you not then just feeding into the beast of... So like, could you argue, is there an argument to be had that like by using it, you're also exploiting other people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think there could be, absolutely. But then
I've never thought of it until now, like when you're talking about it, but I was just thinking like we talk about how it's terrible, like someone could be using my images or part of my fabric or part of my logo that I created or anything that I've uploaded, and yet we, by experimenting, are doing the same thing. So it's a bit contradictory and a bit hypocritical, but like, aren't we all just sort of feeding into that?
It's a really good question. really good question. Maybe that's something that we can maybe...
Morally, I think, you had have to think about that. But then again, like I think that's another massive debate in itself.
Oh, totally, because then it's all about like image rights, usages, intellectual property, which is like a massive thing.
Well, we'll see how the industry goes over the next couple of weeks and months, and see how it implements and changes the film industry, acting, modelling, all that sort of
the
music as well is a big one.
It scared the crap out of me the other week. So I was scrolling, as you do, as I have admitted that I do, and somebody was like doing like a whole music thing, and they were saying how it's like, oh, this is like the before and this is the after. So I think it was about Ed Sheeran singing an Ariana Grande song, and I was like, oh, that's really cool actually. Look at those vocals. Go Ed Sheeran. AI. Yep.
Didn't they do one with Eminem as well? I think maybe I could be wrong here, but like Chris Martin and like at Coldplay, like did like an AI collaboration, and they used like Eminem's voice or something over it.
Potentially.
I think there was like, or at least there was like a clip, and they were maybe experimenting with it. I don't want Coldplay and Chris Martin coming for me now I've said that, but I'm pretty sure there was something along those lines.
It's something like that, but it's very, that was very scary. That was when I was like...
I think you'd be shocked as well, like especially within the music industry, how if you didn't know, I wonder if you'd even pick it up.
Well, you see, I did after a couple of seconds, but because it sounded hollow, it sounded very tinny, like Ed Sheeran was stuck in like a baked beans tin and then shaking it around. It sounded hollow. And then I was like, I don't remember this collaboration. I kind of thought everyone would be all over it. And then, it turned out.
I say, we'll see how the industry reacts to it all.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be lots of...
Absolutely.
I'm sure there'll be lots more backlash. I'm sure there'll be lots of people who are really pro AI, lots of people who are against it. So
the thing is, though, I don't think we can be anti it anymore, because it's here. And I think it's going to be here to stay, but we can't then let that fear stop you from growing as an artist and letting it, and stunting your growth as well. Because like we've said, there will come a point, like with social media, where you have to have it, and it will be a requirement.
So will you be using it now for the rest of your career?
Well, the thing is, though, this is again going back to the cons. Okay, I can't deal with the prompts. Okay, I can't. This is what happens when you're dyslexic. Like, I can't put things in my brain onto paper, let alone trying to ask something to help me out editing, because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, it makes sense to me, but then I get the creepy figures coming out of the screen. So yes, it can help me, but people help me out with the prompts. And this is the thing that another pisses me off. It's like when you're actually looking at how to use the prompts, people hide the screen. So they don't want you to know about the prompts. They just want to see how great like the images and everything and how it all turns. But then what prompts are you using? How do I get that?
I've seen quite a lot.
Do you see what I mean?
I've seen quite a lot of
oh really? I don't.
clips and tutorials where they explain like what you should be typing and...
But I don't understand.
But then it works for some people, but then I could probably copy that tutorial and it won't work for me. So I'm not entirely sure how accurate it is like all the time. I'm sure if you did 10 different images and typed in, I don't know, brown horse. I don't know, that's the first thing that came to my mind. Say you've got like a landscape, so I'm thinking of my own photographies, I'm thinking of my grassroots project, and I'm thinking of like a landscape image in particular, and I'm like, oh, imagine if there's a horse running in the background. And you wanted, but like I'm sure if you did that in 10 different images, you'll probably get 10 different outcomes.
Yeah.
So, but then again, this is because it's still in its early stages,
absolutely.
so you have to just roll with it really, and just get frustrated at the same time. But
if anybody's got like good prompts or wants to make a book,
if anyone's got any advice off of the back of this, and you've been using AI and it's been a real positive to your work, we would love to hear from it, because and hear like how you use it, how it's made your work evolve. It'd be great. Or on the flip side, if you just really hate it. So if you think it's really shit and it's been the most annoying thing ever, again, let's love to hear from you and for you to get in touch. But yeah, I guess to conclude, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, really, up and down. Like there's no real, I don't think either of us have like either a positive or negative, like we don't sway to either one side. I don't think, like, at this moment in time.
Yeah,
anyway.
Absolutely. But this is why we waited to do this, because if we had done this a couple of months ago, we would have been anti.
Oh
AI.
yeah, but again,
Absolutely.
I think we've been really reactive to it, and it would have been all a bit like, no, this is crap, we hate it, don't do it, everyone should stay away from it. But actually, like you said what we both said right at the beginning, it was right for us to just sort of step away, let it sort of set in this initial sort of phase, and have a little research and experiment. And I think it's the best thing for it. And I think
totally, absolutely.
Exactly how, I mean, not, I think everyone should sort of at least, like I say, have a go at it.
Yeah,
just
absolutely,
to sort of
totally, because
fun.
we can't be left behind. No. Like I don't want to be 80 and really out of date and out of touch with everything, because then that's where we all stagnate, and that's not okay. As artists, we should all grow, and we have to grow where it at every given chance, including technology.
So if you've stuck around with us for this episode, thank you so much as always, and showing your support. But we would love to hear from your responses to this, and see some of the work you've maybe created through AI,
absolutely.
or some just hear some of your feedback. It would be amazing. But make sure to stick around for more. I'm sure Emily and I will be sitting down in the studio some more and getting on with some more podcasting, especially over the coming weeks and months ahead. But thank you everyone for sticking around. Thank you so much. Make sure to follow us as always at Original Magazine on Instagram, TikTok, everything, and stay tuned for more. So thank you so much.